Joining us on the World Brief and the review of some headlines of today's newspaper from around the world is Femi Akinsanya. And Femi, well done you.
Yeah.
Very brave, facing a Nigerian police officer and saying, no, I'll stand my ground. That's what bravery is.
Stand back.
Because if you are not brave, you will eat fecal matter in this country.
Look at that.
Welcome back, Shalom.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Welcome back. I hope your mom had an enjoyable
birthday. Lovely birthday. Thank you so much. I felt like a thief in the night, surprising them at like 5 a.m. in the morning. But it was really lovely.
I didn't almost ruin it.
No.
She didn't.
It was fine. She was totally surprised. So I'm happy about that. Good to see you all. Good morning to you all. Good morning to you viewers. Let me tell you what is happening around the world. Now, Israel says that it has started a renewed enforcement of the ceasefire in Gaza. That was after an attack killed 2 of its soldiers and prompted a wave of airstrikes that have killed 26 Palestinians. Now, aid into Gaza is to resume today, Monday, following U.S. pressure. And that's after Israel announced a halt in supplies. That's in response to what it said was a blatant violation by Hamas of the truce. Now, U.S. President Donald Trump said the ceasefire was still in place. U.S. Special Envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, and former senior advisor to the U.S. President Jared Kushner are expected to arrive in Israel on Tuesday to check on the progress of the ceasefire's implementation. Now, the violence in Gaza has been seen as the most serious test yet of this month's truce that came into effect, brokered, of course, by the United States. Now, moving over into Asia, a cargo plane which skidded off the runway and plunged into the sea over in Hong Kong at the international airport there has killed 2 airport security staff. Now, the Emirates Sky Cargo Boeing 747, which arrived empty from Dubai, did veer off the north runway during landing and struck a patrol vehicle before breaking apart near the seawall. All 4 crew members on board were rescued, while investigators have started recovering the flight recorders to determine what went wrong. It's the deadliest ground accident at Hong Kong's airport in more than 20 years. Some very serious stuff there. Now, coming home to the African continent, and we do know that former Kenyan Prime Minister and opposition figure Raila Odinga was laid to rest on Sunday in his home village of Bondo, drawing thousands of mourners and dignitaries. That is his wife that you see on the screen there, his widow. He was honoured with full military rights, including a 17-gun salute, and he was buried next to his father, Jaramogi Odinga. Now, the funeral follows a chaotic week of public viewings in Nairobi and in Kisumu, where stampedes and other crowd surges killed at least 5 people and left hundreds of others injured. Wishing him a very peaceful afterlife. And in a dramatic daylight heist, thieves have stolen 8 historic pieces of jewelry from the museum's Gallery d'Apollon, targeting jewels from the Napoleonic and royal collections. Now, we will see pictures of the stolen items, but the stolen items do include tiaras, necklaces, brooches once worn by figures such as Empress Eugenie and, of course, Queen Marie Amélie, while a 9th item, which was valued at over $60 million, was left behind. Now, French authorities have described the loot as inestimable in value because of its heritage value, though market type of estimates have, looked at these iconic pieces and suggested that they are worth tens of millions of euros. Now, the museum was closed for exceptional reasons as investigators launch a full probe into the sophisticated 4 to 7 minute operation. Goodness gracious me. Now, I'm going to come over to you for your comments, but before then, let's take a look at our papers today. We start, as ever, with the front page of This Day. And This Day does lead with the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, the NUPRC, remitting 6.2 trillion naira to the Federation Account Allocation Committee within the first 9 months of the year. That is despite fluctuations in oil production. This Day does go on to note that the amount represents over 11% of Nigeria's 5 trillion naira 2025 budget. Let's move on to the New Telegraph today. The New Telegraph does report that the North does hold 56% of the federal government's appointments under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration. Data from the Federal Character Commission shows that the South comes in with 44%, with the Northwest and North Central dominating key positions. Now, the FCC say that the figures reflect efforts towards national balance through, though, you know, people have been talking about regional disparities there. So that is the lead story in the New Telegraph. Let's move on to both the Vanguard and the Daily Sun. Now, both papers are looking at and featuring activist Omoyele Sowore, who is urging the police to protect protesters ahead of today's #EndSARS memorial demonstrations, as well as other gatherings. Now, the paper's front page does show security operatives on patrol in Lagos. Now, the Daily Sun also leads with this story highlighting rising tension in Abuja as authorities tighten security ahead of these planned protests. I know we do have a few correspondents actually on the ground over in Abuja, so we'll be seeing what happens from there. So that is both the Vanguard and the Daily Sun. Let us move on now to our next batch of papers. If we can move on, we can also see, would be lovely. There we go. So we've got the Guardian and the Daily Trust there. Both of them are actually leading on quite a concerning story. So they report on the growing tension within Nigerian security circles following the arrest of several senior military officers over an alleged coup plot. Now, according to both papers, the Defense Intelligence Agency is investigating these claims that officers held secret meetings in a plan to overthrow the government. Now, this is happening while a former governor is said to be under watch by officials, however, have maintained that the detentions are linked to internal disciplinary issues rather than a political conspiracy. So very interesting stuff there. And the Daily Independent does report that the federal government is now considering new proposals to establish a viable national carrier. Now, according to the paper, the Aviation Ministry says that the move aims to revitalize the sector and ensure only credible investors with proven capacity are selected. Now, moving on to the Punch, it also goes on to look at aviation. The lower section of the Punch this morning does weigh in on this situation. The Senate has summoned the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority over rising safety concerns in the aviation sector. According to the papers, lawmakers do say that recent incidents, including local airlines, have raised questions about regulatory oversight and maintenance standards. Now, let's go quickly over to some UK papers, and we are looking at the Royals once again. So in the Daily Mail and the Daily Mirror today, this is the Mail, but we have both of them really reporting the same stories. The Daily Mail leads with the reports that King Charles may strip Prince Andrew of his remaining titles in a bid to protect the monarchy's image amid ongoing controversy. And on a similar note, the Daily Mirror does take a look at this royal scandal, with the papers reporting on this renewed pressure on the Duke of York, who has, of course, formally handed back his titles, and he had already stepped back from a lot of public-facing duties. So those are your papers. You got your World Brief and your newspapers. Love to hear your thoughts.
All right, everything in the lovely cocktail. But please, let me start from the local scene for the very first time.
Sure.
Please, we've been hearing this word. The military has said it didn't happen. We can't confirm. I don't want to know, but whatever it is, I condemn any attempt of any coup of any sort in this country. It is abhorrent. It should never happen. It will set us back. You see, democracy is lovely. We can talk. We can come on the TV to talk. Military? Hell. Hell. There's nothing that will ever glorify a military government. Please, people should stop talking like they don't know what transpired in the military government in this country. Was it not under a military government, they mauled people down on the Ikorodu Road? Till today, their lives can't be accounted for. We can talk about EndSARS because it happened in democracy, which we strongly condemn. But any talk of military, I totally, with every fiber of my being, condemn it. That should never be the way forward. And kudos to the security forces. Investigations must be had as regards this, but we should condemn it. A lot of the youngsters that talk about these things, they have no idea what transpired under the military regime in this country. You can see the hypocrisy of the ceasefire. Israel quickly killed 26, just 26, and they move on back, say ceasefire. You can see the hypocrisy. You can see the hypocrisy of what King Trump put in place, and he called a peace deal. And you can see how people are protesting against him. the No King protest, which 7 million people attended, which he has now couched and said, oh, they are pro-Hamas, they are Antifa people. No, these are Americans that want the very best for their country.
Well, this is it.
So what we are seeing here is Israel will now be using this pretext to go ahead, kill people, and come back to a peace agreement. You can see the hypocrisy where the world is going. I just pray there will be a day somebody will speak up for those in Gaza, and America will actually get leaders that can speak up for those in distress in Gaza. Look at how a country is in ruins.
Completely
Don't
shattered.
speak about Trump's prized possession. This ceasefire he's been able to broker.
Okay, yes,
right from the
true.
very beginning, there had been doubts around this because of the terms of the ceasefire itself, the terms around disarmament, going against Israel's stance on decimating and leveling Gaza and Hamas, decimating Hamas. I think it's important to mention that. So I don't think a lot of people are surprised as to what happened in the last few days. What we're expecting, though, in terms of positives today, is that there'll be more aid going into Gaza for the Palestinians there. Unfortunately, a woman and a child are said to have been killed as part of the 26th, and that's quite sad. Trump has said that they're still going to look and investigate what really happened. What was there an aggressor, or what happened that Israel had to had to strike out. But those are some of the things that a number of people had already sort of predicted with regards to the ceasefire. Israel being the main factor as to whether or not to be successful or not. It's still early days, still very fragile, and still not very optimistic as to how long this ceasefire will last. What the Palestinians, and indeed the Israelis, want is an end to this war. It's gone longer than expected, and a number of lives have been lost, and what people are asking for, end this war. So at the end of the day, we're hoping that Israel will abide by its own side, or its own end of the bargain. But let's just highlight something very quickly on the local scene, Adefemi.
Sure.
And that is the tractors from Belarus. Since February, and it's on the front page of the Guardian newspaper, we are wasting money. And there are farmers who want to have a better opportunity to farm. Earlier today, I was talking about diversifying the economy. We make announcements about other sectors, but no follow through. I think it's high time the Minister of Agriculture is held to task. That's Abubakar Kyari, and he has some questions to answer. And that's why I said last week that some ministers are too quiet. There are a number of things that they need to answer for, and these tractors are one of them. Why are they still parked in the council?
Hey.
All right, thank you for that. I remember we'd had the minister on Daybreak, I think about a month ago. We took him to book on those tractors, and he said that they're still parked because they are creating a database of the beneficiaries. So once they arrange the database and they get their data aligned, they'll be able to share the tractors.
Wasting Nigeria's resources.
But let me go to the data will come together. So I want to focus on Kenya this morning, because what happened in Kenya, I think, is a touch point that reflects on our journey through democracy through the rest of Africa. We bid farewell to Right Honorable Raila Odinga, who was former Prime Minister of Kenya. How did he get to become Prime Minister? Through a handshake. He was the man who became notorious for rejecting every single election outcome that he participated in. He claimed that he was rigged out of every election and that he was the rightful winner, and became known as the people's president. Well, in his departure and his sent forth and his final journey home and to his resting place, many might actually say that based off of what we saw, the images, the number of people who came out, it is true that he was a very popular man, and that indeed it's possible that he may have won all of the elections that he claimed to have won. But the question is, what is the role of opposition in Africa's democracy? If we look at what's happening, the role that Raila Odinga had to play, consistently he would lose the election, then he would have to come into agreement with the government of the day, because the government of the day acknowledged the fact that he controlled a huge portion of the electorate. You look at a country like Zimbabwe, where there were instances in the past where the opposition was said to have won a clear victory in the election, but what happened? There had to be a handshake between the opposition and the ruling party so that the government could move forward. You look at what's happening here in Nigeria with the fact that people are decamping from the opposition parties in their droves to join the ruling party because they realize realize that if you're opposition, there's nothing out there for you. It's cold outside government. So for me, my question is, what is the role of opposition in Africa? Do we have opposition that's ready to, despite all Odinga went through, is our opposition ready to stand and do or die and stand on their principle? Or is the ultimate goal just to have that golden handshake with the powers that be within government? And if that's the position of our opposition, then I think we have a serious challenge in trying to deepen our democracy, because the goal can't always be to be in government. I think it's more important to stand on some type of principle.
Agreed.
At the end of the day. But I guess it's easy for me to say because I'm not a politician, so I don't invest my money in elections. I suppose the return has to come one way or another.
If you were, we would vote for you, Vimba.
Will you vote for me?
We would.
Would I have to spend money?
We get your back properly.
Would I have to give you guys something, some motivation?
You wouldn't. We trust you. We trust you. We didn't need to be
spot on. In terms of opposition, in Nigeria, if you don't win, you defect. As we've seen in recent times, is how to get into power, but it's the voice and the power of a thriving democracy to have a vibrant, vibrant opposition. Absolutely.
Yeah, but some people will tell me what Odinga did also as defection now.
It's defection.
It's defection. No?
Anyway, thank you, Adefemi Akinsanya, fresh from Israel through the UK. Looking fantastic. Great work as always.